I want to see what it actually does. And oh, that was a piece of ice that flew off pretty hard there. Hello folks, welcome back. It is cold, it is winter, it is officially winter. Ontario, January, we've got about 8 inches of snow, 6 to 8 inches, so nothing huge, but this is the first significant snowfall we've had in southern Ontario this winter, so of course everyone goes crazy. And it's the first time I got to test it out in the Model 3 properly. I did another small test. We had a little less snow probably back in, I think, late November, and it was, there's a video for that, you'll see. But what makes today even worse, because if anyone knows me, they know that I hate snow, but what makes it even worse is that it's freezing cold. It says minus 13 on this. I checked the weather network before we left the house. It said minus 13, feeling like minus 22 with the wind chill. That is how freaking cold it is, folks. Minus 22 with the wind chill. Tonight's gonna be even colder. Like, this is broad daylight. This is 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and it feels like minus 22. It's supposed to go down to minus 35 to minus 40 tonight. So, oh, by the way, all my American friends, this is Celsius I'm talking about. If it was Fahrenheit, it'd be even worse, but Celsius. So it's still pretty cold. Whatever that is in Fahrenheit, I'm not sure. So we've got a new mount. I'm testing out this new mount for stability, so I can put it in the car and put the camera in the car and drive with my hands and not have to hold the camera. Because, you know, in Ontario, distracted driving is a big thing, and even if it wasn't, I don't want to be driving. I got ice and snow falling off the roof of my car there. I don't want to be driving around with holding the camera. That's not safe, and it's not what you should be doing. But I want to thank Andy Styles, for giving me the hookup with this camera mount. It is the, I think it's called the Gecko. I have to double check what it's called, and I'll put it in there. It's a cool little mount. Got off Amazon. He has a bunch of them, and you look at his videos, they're rock solid, the footage. So I reached out to him. I said, Andy, what mount are you using? And he hooked me up, and he told me this is the mount that he uses, and I hooked it up on Amazon, and we got it, and we're testing it out. And so far, I mean, you tell me in the comments below, folks. Everyone knows that anyone at least in Canada or colder parts, wintry parts of North America knows that there's been some issues with the charge port. Unless you put your car in the garage every night, and I do sometimes, but most of the times I don't. Almost 50-50, but probably 60-40. But when you don't, there are some issues a lot of people have brought up with charge port locking mechanisms freezing, and then you can't get your charging cable out, and you're stuck, and you gotta get a blow dryer or a heat gun and use the little emergency latch in the trunk and stuff like that. All these issues have come up. I haven't had that, but a lot of people have. What I've had is a problem where it says the connector is, or the cable plug is not put in firmly, so charging rates are reduced and you get less charge. I've had that, and that's not because it's stuck in there, but because, from what I've been told, the locking mechanism is stuck. So a software fix came out where it started keeping that actuator for the lock in constant motion, and you heard it, and some people said it sounded like a heartbeat, and that was going on and off, and that was supposed to fix it, but it didn't. And then Tesla put out another software patch to it, or fix to it, where they would when you turn on to preheat your car, they said put it on high, like the max basically, and the heat would basically get to the back of the trunk even though your seats were up, and it would thaw or keep that locking mechanism from freezing. Now, I know a lot of people said, really? Is that gonna actually do it? Because we're heating up the cabin. We're not heating up the back of the trunk, and it's on the exterior and stuff like that. So I thought that was pretty curious myself. I was pretty curious myself to think whether that would work or not. So what I want to do is test it. I want to and I won't be able to test it because, like I said, my locking mechanism has never locked up, and I've never not been able to pull the charger plug out. But I want to test it out to see when it's cold in here, and it says it's a certain temperature in here, what temperature is it really back there? And when we throw it on high heat, like preheat, and we'll put it on high, we'll put it on for half an hour. I think they recommend half hour. I got to go back and check to see what they recommend. But if they recommend half hour, I want to see what it actually does. And oh, that was a piece of ice that flew off pretty hard there. What I want to do is I want to test it out, put a thermometer back there, put a thermometer up here. So I want to see how cold it begins at and how cold it is back there, and see what the difference is, what it says it is here and what it says it is back in the trunk. See if there's a big distinguishing difference. And then when we heat it up, see what it heats up to in here and what it heats up to there, and see if it can actually be something in the pluses, or something that can actually melt or prevent that little actuating lock from freezing. So that's what we're gonna do. Okay folks, it is the next day, and as you can see, it is still freezing cold out here. Let me show you what the temperature is. Okay, so I don't know if you can see that here. It is -15, -22 with the wind chill, but we're not gonna do wind chill. And let's see how cold the car says it is. The car says it is, focus. The car says it's -8. I don't know if you can see that. It says that it's -8 inside the car. But let's go see what the readings are. Well, let me show you the setup first. Okay, so in the trunk here, I showed you what they already look like, the sensor. So in the car here, I have the sensor up here, right where the charge port is. As you can see, that's where normally the charge port is. It's with that little lever and everything, and that's where the orange is. That's where the one sensor is. In the trunk, as close to this charge port as I can get. And then in the car here, it's filthy, I know. In the car here, it's toasty cold, if that's such a word. I put it right on the center console. Okay folks, we're in the car. We're going to start this test. Like I said, up here on the thermometer is the charge port area, so it's -13. And down here is the interior, the cabin, and that's -9. So it's a difference of about 4 degrees now. So we've got an iPad to time it. We're going to do half an hour, and we're going to put the heat on and start the timer, and then come back in half an hour and see what happens. Okay, we're going to set the heat for high. So because I can't do this with the me being in the car, I'm not going to stay in the car for the whole half hour. I'm going to start the timer, and at 1 minute, I'm going to look through the window. At 1 minute, I'm going to start the app here and start the preheat at high for half an hour. Ready? Let's go. Now let's turn off this heat. It's on high and it's dying. Okay, as you can see, the phone. Okay, as you can see, the phone app says the interior went to 28 degrees. Looking at the thermometer here, I don't know if you can see it. It says it's 18 degrees inside here, 18.4 in the cabin. So is the thermometer right, or the car? I'd say the car and the app is probably right. The thermometer may be a little off, but it's okay that it's off, because what we want to see is the difference between here and here. Now it's saying in the trunk it's 8.8 degrees, almost 9 degrees in there. So it's a difference of about 10 degrees. So you know what? 8 degrees, and it took half an hour, exactly 30 minutes to warm it up. I can see Tesla's point of actually having that work. if we were to go back and look, because with this thermometer you've got a setting on it where you can check the minimums and the maximums right here. Okay, so if we were to go and check on the maximums, okay, so 18.9 is what the max is maxed out at, and 8.8 is what it maxed out at there. And the minimum, so we started at -13. That's a reminder of how cold it was. And it was -10.5 in the cabin. So basically it went 28 degrees increase in the cabin, which, I don't know, it says 28 degrees on the app, so I don't know if that's what it's correlating to. And it went from -13 to 8 degrees. That's a difference of 21 degrees. So it went up 21 degrees in half an hour. That's not bad. So if the charge port was cold, it actually, I believe it actually could be unthawed in about half an hour. Now, whether people say it's working or not, that's a different story, but I could see it working. Okay, folks, so there you have it. You know what? I think, you know, after that test, I mean, I should have said this at the very beginning. I'll say it now. This is non-scientific. I'm no expert on this. I'm not saying that this is a scientific test. This is just a test. This is just a fun test to see what the difference would be in a half hour to do what Tesla says, which is to preheat your car for 30 minutes at high temperatures, and that should warm up that trunk area where the charge port is, and it should unfreeze it, I guess. We got the end result, which is 8 degrees, which is a 21 degree increase in 30 minutes in that little cabin area. Sorry, not the cabin area, the charge port area. So the cabin area was -10 when we started, and then it went up to 18 degrees, so a difference of 28 degrees. So 21 degrees in the trunk in half an hour, and 28 degrees in the cabin in half an hour. Those are your numbers at the end of the day, folks. So, like I said, not a scientific experiment, but just thought maybe you guys would want to know. There is a actual hardware fix coming down the pipe from Tesla. From what I understand, it's a bigger drain hole and a more powerful locking mechanism actuator that's supposed to fix a lot of these, not by software or heat or anything, but just by hardware. So I don't know if I've heard some people say they're getting theirs swapped out at the service centers. I'm not sure if they're getting just it replaced with the original one or the new one, because I've also heard that the new ones are being tested still. So I don't know which is which, but either way, a hardware fix is in the works, and we won't have to worry about this. But just in the meantime, I just wanted to see, like I said, if Tesla's idea of fixing this by way of throwing heat at it for 30 minutes while you're preheating the car anyways, which you would be doing. I don't know if you'd be putting it at, I wouldn't personally be throwing my temperature up to high. I'd be putting it up to 22 or 23 or 21, whatever I actually want it at. But, and I don't know if I actually do it for, I usually do it for about 15, 20 minutes, 25 minutes sometimes, so half an hour is not far off. So, thanks for watching, folks. That's all I got today. We'll see you on the next one. Take care.